What's up, Average Dad fans? Welcome back to another video, and today we are reviewing the iPhone 14 Pro Max. We're doing it slightly differently. I need to get my ass into gear, get some steps in, lose some weight. What better way to do it than by testing the new iPhone? So here we go. I'm going to tell you all about the good points, the bad points, the meh points. Ultimately, leave the decision up to you if you should buy, upgrade, not buy, not upgrade. Let's go. So first things first, what I want to get out of the way is the potential bad points of the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Straight off the bat, the lightning connector. I've literally just found the only good point about the lightning connector, and it was while I was just about to make this video and I realised, oh, I've still got a lav mic that has a lightning connector adapter. So I can record this video using the lav mic audio. I will do a test later on using the iPhone's microphones, but I thought I'd highlight that. Yes, the iPhone still uses the lightning connector. I have no idea why. I'm just going to stop to take a look at the view in sunny Scotland. I guess I should tell you what camera I'm using. Right now I'm using the front-facing selfie camera with its 4K 60 frames per second capabilities. I am using it at 30 frames per second. Sorry Marquez, I'm not technical enough to know if 24 or 30 is the best, but I'm using 30. What do you think? Quality wise, pretty good? Good. So yeah, another negative I have found so far about the iPhone 14 Pro Max is battery life. Now, while this is not a major negative, coming from the 13 Pro Max and numerous other Android devices, the iPhone is always battery king. It will be battery king for the foreseeable because of its software integration. But when you go from a 13 to a 14, you expect everything to slightly bump up. The battery hasn't. The battery's gone down slightly. Where I was comfortably getting between 9 and 10 hours screen on time, I'm now between 7 and 8 hours screen on time. Now there's reasons for that we'll get to, but it's important to mention that as a slight negative. Now as far as other negative goes, I honestly haven't seen any. So far to date, the battery life and the lightning connector are the only things that I have thought to brought up as potential negatives, but at the end of the day, if you use an iPhone, you're absolutely used to the lightning connector, and if you're looking for all day battery life, you're still going to get that from the iPhone. So putting them to the side, let's talk new features. The three newest features that I've mentioned in a previous video that nobody watched, but hopefully you'll watch this one: the cameras, the always on display, and the dynamic island. Let's talk dynamic island first. The dynamic island is essentially a software feature that Apple have integrated with their front-facing depth camera, 3D camera, selfie camera. And they've smashed it, in my opinion. Obviously, it's in my opinion. I can't speak for you. But Apple have absolutely smashed the dynamic island. So what is the dynamic island? Well, as mentioned, it's that little pill-shaped thing that you see at the top of the phone here, and it integrates with apps seamlessly, particularly the timer app, which I actually use quite a lot in my working life and in my poker life. Not getting to that, but I use the timer quite a lot. I use the music app, Spotify, and it just works perfectly. When you're receiving calls, text messages, notifications, when you go to charge your battery, it all shows up in the dynamic island. Essentially, Apple have found a way to make use of wasted space. How people can criticise that, I don't know, but that everybody's entitled to their opinion. If you can make use of wasted space, fair play. And as always, Apple tricked us in a way. They one-upped us. People like John Prosser, Front Page Tech, they'll talk about the pill and they'll say how it looked ugly, but Apple smashed out the park by making it look functional and useful, which I'm very much on board with. Now, I hope you appreciate all these different angles I'm trying to get. What I will be doing when I talk about cameras, I'll toss it around to the main 48 megapixel lens, take some macro photos, do all that good stuff. But before we get to the cameras, I want to talk about the other new feature that I am personally appreciative of, and thank goodness it's finally came to iPhone, and that's always on display. Because iPhone, the 14 Pro Max and the 13 Pros had 120 Hz refresh rate, what they're doing now is they're using that LTPO technology where they can get the refresh rate all the way down to 1 Hz on the 14 Pro models, which means they can get an always on display. Now, Apple being Apple, they couldn't just do a normal always on display. They've made an always on display that is brighter than most, with more visuals than most. Some people hate it, which again, that's absolutely fine, because you can turn it off. If you don't like it, you can turn it off. I, on the other hand, do like it. You can see here, it's brighter than most always on displays, but it does dim down. The darker the room, the darker the phone gets. And that's another thing that I want to talk about positively later, so don't let me forget, is the auto brightness. But with the always on display, as mentioned, you can turn it off and it does intelligently dim down. Now, what you're getting on always on display is like most always on displays. You can get your time, widgets, notifications, quick access to music features, all the stuff that you get from an Android always on display that they've had for about 8 years now, has now came to iPhone. And for me, Apple have done it quite well, and they've made it an option. Turn it off if you want, you don't have to use it. As far as how it impacts on the battery, it does impact on the battery, but any feature will impact on the battery. If you're lighting up the screen just a tiny bit, it's going to impact. So I would say, if you want to put a number on it, 6%, 8% of your battery throughout the day goes towards the always on display. If you have it on the whole day, you can schedule the always on display to go off, or when you turn your phone over and have it face down, it will automatically go off as well. And again, as mentioned, with that feature on, with all the other features and everything turned on, you're still going to get a full day of battery out of the 14 Pro Max. I know from other reviewers, from people I know, that if you've got the 14 Pro, the 6.1 inch screen, you ain't getting a full day out of that typically, even with moderate usage, let alone heavy usage. So that's a bit of a shame. Okay, so here we are on the rear facing camera, the main camera lens, but technically not, because I've switched it into action mode and there are road cars coming. Let's go for a quick run. This is me running, this is me still running, this is me getting tired, and this is me stopping. So you can tell me what you think of the action mode there, but that was in 2.8K resolution. And what it does is it goes into the ultra wide angle and slightly crops in, and what it means is it's got more room to work with throughout that lens, which means it helps with stability. So let me know what you think of the action mode there. Okay, now we are on the usual 4K 30 frames per second new 48 megapixel rear camera lens. Action mode is turned off, so as mentioned, it is a full 4K. And it's an iPhone, folks. It delivers the best smartphone video, bar none. Bar none. I recently had the Vivo X Fold, shout out to Vivo X Fold fans. That done phenomenal video. It really did, in nighttime photography and photos, especially for a foldable device. But coming back to an iPhone, and the new iPhone, it's just almost unfair to compare, because iPhone's processing just works. The quality, the sharpness, yeah, just incredible. So we know that video works really well, but as mentioned, iPhone have released a 48 megapixel main lens. Let's test out some photos on that. Let's also take some zoom and ultra wide. Before I do that, the zoom lens has not changed. It's still the same, 3 times optical with the exact same sensor. However, the ultra wide has slightly increased. It's lowered its aperture, but the sensor has got bigger. I think I've got that right, which essentially lets more light in, which means that especially nighttime photography is better, 2 or 3 times better. I can't remember what Apple said in their keynote. So yeah, let's take a look at some photos. Now, with a new iPhone also comes new software, and in the 14 Pro Max's case and the 14 Pro's case, a new chip. So we've got the A16 Bionic, which increases performance by about 15% across the board over the 13 Pro. Interestingly, with the iPhone 14s, they're actually sticking with the A15 Bionic found in last year's Pros, so it is a bump up for the regular 14s, and performance has been great. I'll do a separate video about the iPhone 14 and the 14 Plus. This is all about the Pro Max, but in short, if you're debating whether to get the 14 Plus or the 14 Pro Max because they're the same screen size, it's 6.7 inches, it's all about the cameras. If you use your phone as a main camera, if you create content, get the Pro Max. But I'll do a separate video about that. So anyway, what was I talking about? Software. iOS 16 has also come with the new iPhones, and this just works. Not as well as other iOS software implementations, it must be noted. So iOS 16 has come with its fair amount of bugs. I think we're already on the 3rd update from Apple within the first 2 weeks of release of a phone, which is kind of unheard of. I personally have experienced 0 issues. Some of the issues were camera vibration, the picture minimizing and going to the top of the screen, which is just odd. Apps shutting down, force close them. Those are fairly common. But again, I've had nothing. This phone has worked perfectly over the past 10 days of having it. So, how would I rate my iPhone 14 Pro Max experience? Positively, absolutely. Quite excited to be back with an iPhone because of its reliability, because it just works with everything I've got, the whole ecosystem, the MacBook Pro, the iPad Pro, the new AirPods Pro 2, which by the way I will be doing a video on. I wasn't going to, I really should. I should pump out more content. Again, this is just a hobby, this channel, but it takes up a lot of time, and I've got, job and stuff. Woe me. Anyway, I wasn't going to do a video on the AirPods Pro 2, but I have to. The noise cancellation, the transparency mode, the sound quality is just incredible. And again, the fact that it all works seamlessly with this new iPhone is a major bonus. And I should say any iPhone. Remember, I'm not here to tell you if you should upgrade or not. I'm just going to tell you about the phone. So I will leave that up to you, upgrade or not. If you've got any questions, you know what to do. Leave a comment down below. If you haven't already, like, the video and subscribe to the channel, because it helps stroke my ego a bit. I'll leave you with some more photos taken from the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and until next time, peace.